Hey everyone, I just saw Jurassic World Rebirth this morning and I wanted to give my review on the movie because that's something I've started doing where I go to the theater, see whatever movie I want, and then come home and make a review. Whether it's new or old, I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So let's dive into Jurassic World Rebirth. To get my initial thoughts out of the way if you don't want to watch through the whole video, even though I think you should just to hear like what I have to say about certain areas like the characters, the plot, the dinosaurs, the writing, all that stuff. I thought the movie was really good. Definitely better than the last few. In fact, I think it's actually the best Jurassic movie since the first Jurassic Park. I know, big claim, but that's just what I thought. And I thought it was great. It kept me invested the whole time. Definitely better than that snooze fest Jurassic World Dominion. It was a very, very fun movie. It was very investing, very rich, and I thought it did something that we haven't actually seen since the first movie. Good character writing and well-developed characters, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start off by talking about the initial plot, and I thought it was pretty good. Nothing groundbreaking, but it does something that not a lot of Jurassic movies do well. It gives the characters a reason to be in a dinosaur-filled landscape. You know, sometimes you'll have really contrived plots like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom or Jurassic World Dominion where the characters feel obligated to go there. Like, oh, our kid got kidnapped, or oh, we gotta save the dinosaurs. Or it'll be like Jurassic Park 3 where Alan Grant is taken to the island against his will. But no, the plot so what happens is dinosaurs, since Jurassic World Dominion, have been dying off and giving people diseases and illnesses. So this big pharma guy, whose name is Chris, comes to Zora, Scarlett Johansson's character, and hires her to do a covert ops mission to this illegal sanctioned island, along with Jonathan Bailey's character, Dr. Henry Loomis, to get three samples from a land, sea, and air dinosaur in order to create a cure for all these diseases and illnesses, saving millions of lives. They then go to this like remote tropical village, find Duncan's character, and not Duncan's character, Mahershala Ali. Yes, that's Duncan. That's who plays Duncan. All right, just wanted to get that on the record. And then they're off. They're on the boat. They end up picking up some castaways, which is the family you probably have seen on the raft scenes in the trailer. Might be a hot take, but I actually like these characters. I'll get more of that soon. I'll admit, the beginning is pretty slow. Like, there's ample buildup because the movie actually fleshes out its characters and lets you get reintroduced to this world. We get motivations, we get backstories, we get clear goals and emotions and personalities with these characters. Like, I'm getting too much into characters, but once the Spinosauruses attack the boat and the crew gets stranded on the island, they have to basically go through, get all the samples, and then evac through a helicopter. And I'm not going to spoil anything else because I really think you go see this movie, but it is nonstop dinosaur action. There's thrills. There's so many good scenes, and it's just great. This movie is great. The plot is, like I said, nothing groundbreaking, but simple, but it's written in a way that's very effective. Like I said, I genuinely think that this is a movie we're seeing in the theaters, despite what some of the reviews say. And I'll give you an example. My brother fell asleep during Jurassic World Dominion in a theater when Owen was being chased by Utahraptors on his motorcycle. For context, in this movie, he was wide awake and completely invested, and he ended up giving this movie a higher score than I did, but we'll get into that later. I want to get into the characters next because I've been talking about them and I think they're great, but I loved every single character in this movie. I think they all have something memorable and interesting about them, and I think the best part is that these characters aren't quippy. There's no Marvel tier dialogue or moments that go, oh, well, that just happened, or the raptor's right behind me, isn't he? No, these characters are reacting in like natural ways. Like, oh my god, I'm seeing a dinosaur in the wild for the first time ever. This is amazing. Or, oh my god, I'm being chased by a T-Rex. This is horrifying. I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs because I'm being attacked by a T-Rex. These characters are actually written like people. They interact with each other like they're ad-libbing. It doesn't feel like actors just reading off of a script. The characters were very interesting, and I thought that the movie was actually very emotional. Like, I was actually worried or upset if a character died or I thought they were going to die. Because in this movie, the characters actually reflect on other characters' deaths. It isn't a character dies and then the scene cuts away and the characters are talking like nothing happened. The characters will stand around, they'll look distraught, be upset, they'll be calling out the characters' names, like teary-eyed, on the verge of breaking down and crying, and they'll be like looking at the remains, trying to salvage whatever they can is like for a token of remembrance. It's touching in a way. It's a very tense movie, and the characters and writing do a great job making sure you want to see as many people as you can escape. One tiny spoiler I'll get for one character that I thought was written really well is the family on the sailboat. So the family on the sailboat is his dad and his two daughters, and the older daughter has his boyfriend, who is first introduced like a lazy asshole who does nothing, but instead of them killing him off by like the Mosasaurus, Spinosaurus, or T-Rex, they actually have him perform so many selfless actions and grow to care about the family and their dynamics so much that by the end of the movie, you don't want to see him die. You want him to stick around and survive. And that's something we don't see in a lot of movies where like characters will grow. You always have these like static characters that are just made as like cannon fodder to be added to the kill count. But no, that doesn't happen. And I'm very happy. I'm going to say my favorite character was Dr. Henry Loomis. I think that Jonathan Bailey gives an amazing performance, and I think his scene with the Titanosaurus was so awe-inspiring, and the scale was so grand and just amazing that I was tearing up a little bit. It genuinely reminded me of how I felt when I watched Jurassic Park for the first time in my life. I think every character is a good addition to the story. None of them feel useless or like filler that could have been cut, so good job, Jurassic World Rebirth. You made likable and well-written characters. Thank God they're not quip machines. I don't want to watch a dinosaur movie and have the characters almost die and just be like, well, that just happened. Next is the action, and boy, does this movie have a lot of it. So the first action we see is the Mosasaurus, and there's two action scenes with it. The first scene is it tipping over the sailboat, and it is this great thalassophobic scene where it's just the depths of the ocean and just them being stranded out. It's so scary, and it made my heart pound. And the second one is that when it attacks the boat with the Spinosauruses and all that, those attacks, it was very tense. It was amazing. Like I said, the beginning dragged out a little bit, which does kind of hurt this movie thinking about it on a rewatch, but I think the lead up to all the island and action scenes were amazing. Not a single one was stupid or flawed in my opinion. The Spinosaurus attacks, I think, were genuinely my second favorite attacks in the movie. I like seeing them interact, them on the boats, trying to like nip at the human's feet and drag them into the water. It was so cool. It genuinely was. For a dinosaur we haven't seen in 24 years, they got their time to shine, and boy, were they used well. The T-Rex raft scene in the movie was probably my favorite scene. I read the original Jurassic Park book, and I was always upset when I learned about the fact that they couldn't adapt the raft scene into the original. And this scene in this movie, it exceeded my expectations. It was everything I could have ever wanted. And when I heard the T-Rex roar, my theater shook and I had such a huge smile on my face. You have no idea how happy I was to see this scene come to life. One dinosaur I'll admit that did get a bit dirty are the raptors. They have one 30-second scene and they get neg-diffed by the Mutodon. So what happens is the boyfriend goes to take a piss and the raptors sneak up on him. They're about to kill him, but then the Mutodon comes out of nowhere and just kills them both. A little underwhelming. Would have liked to see a little bit more raptors. But if you also want to see more raptors, go watch any of the other 6 films in this franchise. And the ending. Some people have a complaint about the ending, but I thought the action was great. Spoiler really quick, there's no dinosaur fights, but I didn't mind that. I thought the way they handled the D-Rex and the mutadons was very tense. It was very well done, and it was very great. When Duncan is luring the D-Rex into the lagoon with the flare, it looked amazing. It was awesome. Another little nitpick I do have with the action as well is that there were some weird green screens, but it never really took me out of it. I think the most noticeable green screen was when the one girl was hanging off the edge of the boat before she fell in the water. And it was very noticeable. I caught it in the theater, and it didn't really take me out of it. It was only like 5 seconds. Anyway, Gareth Edwards also did a great job directing the hell out of this movie, by the way. The movie is shot so well. The scale, the grandeur of everything is shot so well. I cannot wait for the sequel. Gareth Edwards, you are going to do amazing. So, my final thoughts is since it was obvious from my review that I thought this movie was great, I hated Dominion for how it decided to focus too much on like Locust and everything. We needed a more coherent and dino focused plot, and I'm glad we got that. From that simple yet effective plot to the well written and meaningful characters and the amazing dinosaur action, I'm giving Jurassic World Rebirth an 8 out of 10, with my brother giving it an 8.5 out of 10. And my final words are please see this in theaters, and I'll see you all for my next review, which will probably be Fantastic Four. Take care, and I'll catch you on the flip side.